Develop success from failures. Discouragement and failure are two of the surest stepping stones to success. Dale Carnegie. My friends, I have learned so much more from the screw-ups I have made in my trading time. And again, we start off with practice trading. And then we go into fractional trading. And only after you've mastered both do you ever think about spending any real money. But I have learned more from my mistakes than I ever have from my successes. You might say, how is that? Because when the market's going up as it was right here, those of you who jumped in on this and rode it up 12%, so many people felt like geniuses. And of course, there was no genius to it. The market was in a tear taking off. It's like jumping in to a down market. You could have jumped in a lot of places right here when the market started going down in late August and into mid-September. And you would have done nicely shorting the market. You're not a genius when you have those stints. It's where it gets sloppy and where you learn to take out your profits with your profit and loss bands. Let the other half ride, again, using our always winning principle. That is what it's all about. And in fact, I am going to put a nice training at the end of today's video for you on, let's see, I was just thinking, I think it's, well, I'm going to surprise you. I'm going to say it'll be a good one. You will like it. Now, let's jump into these charts. We see that everything is up for the day but Bitcoin. Not up a lot, up a little, but how did we end the week? Well, a weak week this week. As we look at things, you can see last week was a green spinning top. This week was a green spinning top. We're below average in our volume both these weeks. And again, we've got tails on the bottom of our candles. Candle this week's a little smaller than last week and did not reach the high of last week. We can see our 2-day candle here finished drawing. It was the Thursday, Friday candle, just trying to penetrate that weekly trend line. You can see on the half day it did, and not sort of hanging below it. So nothing getting us super excited about where things went this week. Blew out our loss band there. Not that we talked about entering that trade, but again, I went ahead and tracked it for you. That is where we are. Let's see how this next week takes off. If things really roll over and start crunching down, that'll be a good sign for us. If they do start sprouting wings, blowing off the weekly trend line, starting up with a nice big green up candle, that'll be another awakening for us. We'll be ready to capture that. Either way, we'll just hang tight, wait for the indicators to give us a good sign as to what's going to happen, or we will jump into something when we see that occur. That's just the way you do it. You don't ever force a trade. You force a trade, the market will take your money from you in that trade. Let's look at the NASDAQ 100. Up for the day, I think I might have told you already, the S&P up 0.15%. Now that's, again, a minuscule amount. The NASDAQ 100 up 0.14%. What do we see here? We see a red down candle, again, above the 2-day trend, the weekly trend line on the 2-day chart, and the same here, holding fast to that. When I get up here, it gets into the little widget there, but holding fast to the weekly trend line. So a better sign here. We look at the high last week, and we see the high last week was 380.83. This week, 379.31. So we didn't hit the high of last week, just like the S&P. We're still meandering around. Looks better for a potential move back up on the NASDAQ 100. We will see. Again, we'll be ready to act if the charts tell us to do so next week. What do we see on bonds? Up a little bit for the day, 0.38%. We're still just below that weekly trend line. We've been sort of sliding for most of the week below it. And again, we had a down move here. We captured, of course, 2.45%. We're just waiting for the market to tell us what to do with the other half of that trade. I mean, it did hit the, it hit a little bit lower and then popped up, but didn't go out of the zone yet on the loss band and then moved back down. So we're okay still on, and it's the only one I have marked as red on 20-year bonds. TBF, of course, is the inverse fund on bonds. Let's look at where we are on gold. Gold up just a little bit, a smidgen, 0.03%, 0.3% for the day. You can see where on the 2-day chart it's sitting right there trying to push through the 2-day. It has pushed through it on that is the 2-day chart pushing through, trying to push through the weekly trend line. Half-day chart has pushed through it and is just sliding along down there for 2 days. And what do we have for the week? Well, if you take an expanded look at it, you can see that it is a spinning top, a very little one, but it's green and it is moving up. So we'll see what gold ends up doing. Of course, because of the pop-up here, we, of course, would have gotten out of any of our trade there because, of course, we had been into a down move, but haven't pulled the trigger on an up move yet. And again, one thing that kept us from doing that, again, is where the volume has registered. We'll keep an eye on things and see which way they go this next week. Lastly, we'll take a look at Bitcoin. Glad to see it again. Well, it is now, I think I said Bitcoin was the only one that was up for the week, down for the week. It is up a little bit, 0.12%. And what we see in Bitcoin now is, again, below the weekly trend line on that 2-day chart. On the half-day chart, you can see where 2 dojis yesterday afternoon, this morning, and then popping up a little bit, 0.12%. We want to keep seeing Bitcoin pull back. We'll hear more about that if you listen to what I'm going to free that up for the general populace. We've saved it up until now for the Patreon members, but Charting Cryptos, Commodities, and Currencies. Please listen to that over the weekend. I think you'll get a kick out of it. We'll talk more about what we want to see Bitcoin doing. That is continuing to sort of reset, moving down. And then we want to see a nice, firm, clean reversal. That's what I'm hoping for, because I'd like for us to jump in and have a successful Bitcoin practice trade. That is where we are, folks. We always love to hear from you, Patreon members. We so appreciate your support. Hope you enjoyed the 20 weekly vertical crossovers. Well, I think we had 13 this week that we sent you. Actually, 13, yes. We had 5 down and the others, 4 up and the others were down. Hope you enjoyed initiating maybe some practice trades on those and your 3-wave trades. Of course, if you sign up and become a Patreon member, the first thing you get is our 3-part training options made simple, the Charting Wealth way. If you're interested in options, we've got the training to get you started. God bless, my friends. All the best from the whole team at Charting Wealth World Headquarters.